بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. And so after Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, after Nuh alayhi salam had called upon him to destroy and to do away with the kafirin, with the disbelievers, and after Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala answered his dua, he made his offspring, those who remained, we mentioned this yesterday, from them, those who said that there were 30, 40 who boarded the ship, meaning from the believers. From them, those who said it were only his sons. And there's no problem here, because even if we say there was on the ship more than the three sons of Nuh, even if we say 30, 40, then Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran that it was only his offspring that remained, meaning through his three sons. And so anybody else who boarded the ship from the believers, then they didn't go on to have children who remained, but only the children and the offspring of Nuh alayhi salam. And so everybody who is on the earth today, all of us, we are from the children of Nuh alayhi salam. Again, that is why he's referred to as Abu Bashar al-Thani, the second father. Now, because if there were those who remained from those offspring of Adam, and those who were besides Nuh alayhi salam, had their offsprings remained, there would be upon the earth today those who would go back to other than Nuh. But because Allah made it so that only the offspring of Nuh would remain, then everyone on the face of the earth today, his lineage goes back to Nuh alayhi salam. From the children of Nuh, we said from them was Sam, and from him came Azar, the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam. 10 generations between Nuh and Ibrahim. 10 generations. 10 قرون. Naam. And so this brings us to the story of Ibrahim al-Khalil alayhi salam, the close and intimate friend of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, the one who Allah referred to as an ummah in and of himself, a nation in and of himself, from the ulul azm min al-rusul, from the 5 determined messengers, Abul Anbiya, referred to as Abul Anbiya, the father of the prophets, because most of the prophets that came after were from his lineage. From Ishaq and from Ismail. And there are those who mention that he had also another son called Madian. And so the Qabilat Madian, that we hear in the Quran, to whom Shu'aib, the Prophet of Allah Shu'aib, came to, he was from Madian. His lineage goes back to Madian, and Madian was the son of Ibrahim. Just like when we say Quraysh is referring to an individual. In reality, it goes back to an individual. Those who the Nasabun, the genealogists, they say was Fihr, one of the forefathers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he had a nickname, Quraysh. And so when they say Quraysh or Qabilat Quraysh, the tribe of Quraysh, goes back to him. And so likewise, Madian goes back to, the tribe of Madian goes back to this individual, Madian, the son of Ibrahim. Naam. And so similar to the story of Nuh, we find the story of Ibrahim throughout the Quran in a number of places. And about whom Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ إِذْ قَالُوا لِقَوْمِهِمْ إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِنْكُمْ وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ, until the end of the ayah, where Allah Tabaraka Ta'ala, He mentions that you have for you an excellent example in Ibrahim. And those who were with him, when they said to their people, Inna bura'a'u minkum, we are free from you. We are free from you and that which you worship besides Allah. Why? Because a shaitan came again. Just as he came to the children of Adam, Bani Adam, he came to Bani Nuh, to the children of Nuh, Awlad Nuh. After Allah had annihilated the kuffar of the face of the earth, there remained nothing but the children of the believers on the ark and those who were saved. But then shaitan came again, and from them those who began to worship the idols again and to worship others besides Allah, direct ibadah to other than Allah, and fall into the greatest sin and oppose that which they've been created for. وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Did not create the jinn or mankind except to worship me alone. However, shaitan came and caused them to commit the greatest crime of ash-shirk billah. Naam. And so the same call again. Ya qawm i'budullah ma lakum min ilahin ghayruh. O my people, worship Allah, you have no other God besides Him, no other deity besides Him. All of the prophets, ayyul ikhwa, all of the prophets, they focused on this call. They focused on the tawheed of Allah. And whoever reads the Quran with a sound heart and a heart that is present, and a heart that Allah has guided after being guided, yani guidance upon guidance, because how many read the Quran, they've been guided to the Quran, but they miss this. They miss that which is the most important thing that Allah Ta'ala calls to in the Quran, which is the tawheed of Allah, which is to worship Him alone. How many, they read the Quran for many years, they memorize it, they read it, but yet they've missed this. And just to give a recent example, my brothers, a recent example, very recent example, I believe in this shahr, this month. You know how the reminders go out on the WhatsApp these days? That's how it works now. All the reminders go out. And one reminder came to me, or one message came. It was a JPEG, or an image. And on this image was summarized action after action, righteous actions. Things that we should do and things we should stay away from. And with every action, in brackets, the surah, the number of the surah and the number of the verse. And so, be just. Yani, be from the truthful. Don't deceive. Be good to the orphan. Be good to your families. Don't fornicate. Don't kill. All of these, a long list of actions, things we should do. The proof for it in the Quran. Things we should stay away from. The proof from it in the Quran. The proof of it in the Quran. Verse, chapter number, verse number. The list went on and on. Guess what was missing? Tawheed and shirk. This is the affair of the Muslim Ummah, my brothers. Allah Ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalik liman yasha. Indeed, Allah does not forgive shirk, but He forgives less than that to whomsoever He pleases. But look at what we receive by way of reminders from our Muslim brothers. Musibah, ayyuhal ikhwa. This is a musibah. This is a calamity, my brothers. A calamity. And at the same time, it shows to me and to you the favor of Allah Ta'ala upon you, my brother. Upon me. That He has guided us to constantly drill this matter home. The Tawheed of Allah. He's guided you to Tawheed. He's guided you to recognize it. He's guided you to learn it, to understand it. He's guided us to remind one another of it. And so, we have a great responsibility, my brothers. A great responsibility upon our shoulders to teach that also to the Muslims. For if this is their state, then they've missed it, my brothers. They're reading the Quran, but they're missing it. They're missing these verses. Ya qawmi ibadullah, ma lakum min ilahin ghayru. They're missing it. They're reading, but it's not going in. They're catching everything else but this. That is guidance upon guidance, my brothers, that Allah has guided you to. They have been guided to the Quran, but not that guidance thereafter. That finer guidance, where Allah continues to guide you and guide you. Walhamdulillah. And so, my brothers, let us not fall into the same thing. When it comes to our children, our families, our wives, those around us, let us make sure that we teach them the Tawheed. If Allah's guided you to that, we have to pass that on. You have to follow the Anbiya. And this is from the greatest of reasons why Allah has mentioned the stories of the prophets, that we take them as a qudwa. لَقَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Naam. And that which took place with Ibrahim alayhi salam and his people, many benefits, many lessons from his da'wah. Again, we see immediately after Allah mentions you have in him a good example, the first thing that Allah shows to us from his examples is that he called to Tawheed. The very first thing that Allah mentions, the example of him calling to Tawheed. And not just calling to Tawheed, but without compromise. Without compromise. إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِنْكُمْ وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. We are free from you and that which you worship besides him. وَبَدَا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاءُ وَكَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ. We have disbelieved in you and that which you worship. وَبَدَا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءُ أَبَدًا حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. And there was appeared between us enmity and hatred forever up until you worship Allah alone, up until you come back to that Tawheed. And so we learn, this is what we learn. We also learn the adab of munadhara from Ibrahim alayhi salam. How to debate, when you're calling, when you're giving da'wah, how to debate. For indeed he debated and he called his people, his father, the king. We don't have the time here to go into all of the details and mention the ayat and so on. But that is upon you. That is upon you to go home in your own time. Read these stories. Take benefit. How he debated with them. The manner in how he debated with them and the angles from with which he came to them. Angles which established the proof upon them in a way which they were unable to reject. And how he smashed the idols and how he taught them in the simplest of ways. How he taught them in the most simplest of ways. Naam. Ya abati lima ta'budu ma la yasma' wa la yubsir wa la yughni anka shay'a. Oh my father, why do you worship that which does not hear? Wa la yubsir, doesn't see. It cannot avail you in any way. It's giving them the simple da'wah. Making them reflect in the simplest of ways. His sabr and his gentleness, ayyul ikhwa, we learn. Ya abati, ya abati, ya abati, oh my dear father. That's patience, that gentleness. Salamun alayk. Salamun alayk. Peace to you. Naam. His iman, that strength of iman, that tawakkul upon Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. When they kindled the fire after smashing the idols, and they decided to throw Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire. قُلْنَا يَا نَارْ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. We said, oh fire, be cool and safe for Ibrahim. and his tawakkul and his iman. And also, we learn from this the qudra of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And the Nabiyina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, did he not say, أن الأمة لو اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتب الله عليك. Know that if the ummah, all of them, gathered together to harm you with something, they will never be able to harm you except with that which Allah has written will harm you. Naam. We see how he migrated with his religion. After this occurrence of the fire, and after his people have rejected, he made hijrah. He migrated, which is the way of the believers. When they are able, or when they are commanded by Allah, that they migrate with their religion, because that is the most dearest thing to them. That is the most dearest thing to us. If we have to, my brothers, we have to migrate, we have to migrate. There's nothing more dearer to us in these lands than your iman. If we have to, and that command comes, or we're in a situation where we're not able to practice our religion anymore, what is more dear to us? And that's the test, the true test. Now, we also see how Allah, He blessed him in old age and his wife, with that which is beloved to a man. A man desires to have a son. He desires to have children. From the blessings of Allah, how in old age, over 80 years old, without children, Allah Azza wa Jal, He blessed them. He blessed them with Anbiya. He blessed them with Ismail. And He blessed them with Ishaq. Naam. And we mentioned already some from the scholars, those who say also Madian, and from him came Shu'aib. And that is why he's referred to as Abu Anbiya, as we mentioned. We also learn the great and tremendous love that Ibrahim alayhi salam he had for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala over all other things. After being blessed, after all of these years, the most dearest thing to a man, having a son, eventually at that age, that Allah tested him to see, to test his love. His love of Allah, is it greater, or the love for that which is far lesser than the love of Allah and the love of the worldly matters? And He commanded him to sacrifice his son. And again, without going into detail, we know that at the point of both of them submitting, Ibrahim alayhi salam submitting to the command of Allah, Ismail, his son, submitting that if Allah has commanded you, then you will find me one who has submitted to the will of Allah. And so with the knife on his throat, and when Allah, it was clear that his love for Allah was clear, and they are from the Muslimin, those who submit, then Allah made it so that He sacrifices the ram in place of Ismail. Some say that ram, remember the sacrifice, the story you mentioned of the two sons of Adam, and the sacrifice that both of them came with? We said one of them came with, and the one whose qurban was accepted, he put forward kabsh. He put forward a ram. And that was the one that was the sacrifice that was accepted. Some say, the Mufassirin, that Allah saved that ram. Allah saved that ram. And it was that ram which was given to Ibrahim, which was then sacrificed. Naam. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam concerning that. We learn, ayyul ikhwa, many benefits. We learn the reasons behind or the wisdoms behind many of the manasik of Hajj and Umrah, which are connected and related to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Those rituals of Hajj and Umrah. Where do we stop, my brothers? Where do we stop with the benefits? These are just crumbs. These are just crumbs, ayyul ikhwa. Even, not just in matters of aqeedah and belief, but even in matters of fiqh. Actions, rulings connected to worship, adab, mannerisms, and so on, from Ibrahim alayhi salam. وَاتَّبِعُوا مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Allah has commanded us to follow the religion of Ibrahim. And so we see how Ibrahim alayhi salam, how he combined between making dua for the religious and worldly benefits together. He didn't just make dua for the worldly matters. Many of us may fall into this. We're living in the dunya. All we see before us right now is the dunya. And so we make dua for, and we want, and we seek, and we desire things in the dunya, so we might make dua for that. But what we learn from Ibrahim alayhi salam is to combine between making dua for the religious and worldly matters together. رَبِّ جَعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا. My Lord, make this land a secure land. وَارْزُقْ أَهْلُهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. And provide its people with provisions. نعم. ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا. Oh Allah, make us as Muslims, me and my son Ismail. Cause us to be Muslims, those who will submit to you, and from our children. ربنا وبعث فيهم رسولا. Oh Allah, oh our Lord, send from amongst them a messenger. And so dua for the religious matters, and for the matters connected to the akhirah, and our matters connected to our religion, and matters connected to the dunya. Likewise also making dua within worship. From the adab of dua is also making dua, and as the scholars they mentioned, that making dua whilst you're engaged in worship is better. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَعِيلَ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا. When Ibrahim, he was building the foundations of the house with Ismail. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا. Whilst they were doing it, making dua whilst engaged in worship, and also after you finished and you finished an action of worship. And then those are the du'as that we mentioned. ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك, and so on, those ad'iyah and those du'as that he made. Now, likewise, and we'll finish with this, what we learn is that whoever is determined to perform a righteous action but is prevented, then his reward is still with Allah. Just as Ibrahim intended to sacrifice, and he was determined to sacrifice his son. However, at the final moment, Allah ordered him to withhold. However, he still received the reward from his Lord. We see also the legislative nature. Let me ask you a question, my brothers. Sometimes, kind of like a random question. Sometimes on these WhatsApp messages, even other than WhatsApp, text messages, whatever, brother, he messages you and he says, Salam. Salam. You think maybe he's being lazy. Say the full thing, brother. Assalamu alayk, or Assalamu alaykum, or Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's lazy, right? Someone who's just salams. However, what we learn, my brothers, and don't make inkar. Remember, don't reject something without knowledge. In fact, I heard Sheikh Salih Fawzan being asked this question. Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. I'm just saying salam. Salam. Sometimes you hear, brother, salam. Salam. That's it. Huh? The Shaykh said, yes, there's a basis for this. When the Malaika came to Ibrahim, when they came in the form of men, قالوا سلاما. قال salam. Ibrahim responded with just salam, not saying salamu alaykum. So again, we learn from the adab, ayyuhal ikhwa. The final one, or the final two. We learn also hastening to host and serve the guest. To hasten and to rush in serving the guest. قال salam, when the angels gave salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, salam. فما لبث أن جاء بماذا؟ بعجل حنيذ. فما لبث. Anyone know the verb labith in Arabic? Labitha. What does that mean? To rest, to stay. كم لبثت, as Allah mentions in the Quran. How long did you stay? Rest and stay. To those of the cave, the companions of the cave. كم لبثتم. How long did you remain? Stay. However, it's preceded by the ma. Ma labith. So, a negation. To not stay. To not remain. But the meaning here is to not remain at all. And to not remain and to hasten. فما labith, meaning when the guests came, he didn't sit around at all. He hastened and rushed. Didn't just sit around with the guests. فما labith أن جاء بعجل حنيذ. He hastened to bring a roasted calf to feed the guests. And so we learn the adab of how to deal with the guest, to hasten and rush to serve the guests, and also from the adab also, if you're able, and Allah has blessed you with wealth and so on, if you're able to be prepared and have food ready, because for Ibrahim alayhi salam to do this, they had food prepared and ready for guests whenever they come. And you know how it is, brothers. Sometimes those relatives, you haven't seen them for 5 years. And they turn up. And when they turn up, they turn up. When they turn up, they bring the whole crew. And our generation, or the younger generations, they're losing this. You'll be looking to get tea and biscuits. But the older generation, alhamdulillah, our people, they had this. Those kebabs and pakoras, and would be quick off the fryer. Before they even stepped in the house, the kebabs are frying. Again, this is from the adab, and we learn this from the anbiya. We learn from Nabiyina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, the Quran and the Sunnah. We have much within these two sources. And from our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also the previous anbiya of Allah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of them. We ask Allah Ta'ala that He makes us of those who take them as our example. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد